of the Simpsons. Good morrow to you, and welcome to Joe's Too Critical of the Simpsons is a podcast that I am doing right now, and you are listening at it. It is a thing where I summarize the newest episode of Modern Simpsons. I do that by doing a bit of a radio play, which is, these radio plays are getting more and more half-assed each time. If you ask me, they are the voices from the radio play come from my voice, and they also come from the originate from the series The Simpsons, Simpsums, which was a summarizing The Simpsons series I did before this, and I shouldn't talk about it in the past tense because I'll do them on rare occasions. Still, if you want to see those, they're at YouTube. If you're watching this on SoundCloud, you can find my YouTube channel all over this SoundCloud page. If you're watching this on YouTube and you want to go to SoundCloud to download a version of this, an MP3 that you can hear forever till you're dead, go to SoundCloud. I made it downloadable for use. If you don't want to do either of those things, hey, get the fuck out of here. We like to have fun around here. Links everywhere for everything I've just mentioned. After the summaries, I do criticism of the episode, where I usually talk about it for a long time and talk about why it's a shitty episode, because there are no good new episodes. There's like one. It's the book job. I've said it before. And then at the end, I just tell you, hey, what's the haps in my life in this crazy world? Okay? I don't got anything to say further in the intro this time, so here's a summary of this wonderful episode. This episode is season 27, episode 19, Fland Canyon. Fland, F-L-A-N-D. It aired on April 24th, 2016. Here's the summary! Oh, I can't seem to get you to sleep, Maggie, so I'll tell you a story from 2 years ago, before you were born. So it's 2 years ago, and Marge has roped Homer into doing volunteer cleanup in a bad neighborhood full of homeless people, and Flanders is there, of course. Oh, I don't want to do this. It's Saturday. I'm complaining about it and being a dick. Well, sir, quit being a dick. At the end of the cleanup, the person who did the best cleaning is Ned, of course, and he wins a trip for 2 families to the Grand Canyon, and my wife and I secretly hate Ned, so we think you should take the Simpsons on the trip, because you 2 neighbors could stand to bond some. Okay, I don't want to go because I hate Ned too, but we will go. So then they're on the lousy trip at the Grand Canyon. Well, sir, me and my family are very religious on the trip, and we are singing religious song. Oh, it's annoying. They go to a diner, I guess, and the waitress brings them their food. Oh, thank you. I'm Rod or Todd. Who cares? Thank you. I'm Lisa. I don't say thank you, and I am Bart. Oh, I am Maud Flanders. I notice your son doesn't say thank you, Marge. A bad son, IMO. That night, at this damn hotel they're staying at, the Flanderses are in the room adjacent to the Simpsons, and Homer is snoring loudly. Oh, none of us can sleep. That's it. None of them can sleep. That was Rod. Again, my Rod voice is top notch. Then they go to descend the canyon the next day. Oh no! Homer and Bart are making fools of themselves, showing they ass to the world, mooning everyone, showing they ass. Alright. So then they're riding their donkeys. They're riding donkeys down the canyon, and some SUVs go past them down the canyon. I am your guide. Oh, those are some rich guys who are doing a rich people version of this vacation. They are rich and have everything they could ever want. They are rich. I am deliberately making branches smack Rod and Todd in the face while they ride the donkeys, lol. Oh, that's a bad son, I'm Maud. Well, sir, we find a church is built into the canyon. I don't know, partway down, so we'll go to church now. It's a Catholic church, whatever. We will wait. It is boring. Alright, then they're on the donkeys again. Oh, I am the guide. My mule and I fall down the canyon suddenly. Guess I'm dead. Shit, it seems most of the food was on that guide's mule, so we're fucked! Well, sir, Homer, you and I gotta go get help. So they go do that. Well, sir, look, it's the rich people's encampment. They have many things we can borrow. Hello, we are the rich people, and we don't give away our stuff. We will shoot you. Flanders, we have to steal the food. Well, sir, I don't like to do it. I'm religious, but okay, I do it. They steal the food and they take it away on a raft. We did it! How nice for us! We're having fun together with this stolen food! Well, sir, yes, how nice for us. We're a good team, whatever. So they get the food back to everyone else, and then they just get rescued. It doesn't really show how, it just kind of cuts to them getting rescued. And then the guide is alive, I guess. You see him getting airlifted in the background, fine, whatever. And then it's back to the present. Well, sir, Homer, I heard you telling that story from next door. Pretty nice story. I'm talking to you from my upstairs window. You know, Flanders, I think we owe you a trip. So both families go on a trip to the postcard museum because the joke is they show you close-ups of all the postcards and they're all like different places around the world. So it's like, oh, they took them to all these places around the world. But then you see it zooms out, and they're just looking at postcards at the postcard museum. Can you imagine? The episode's over! Now for criticism! Wow, wasn't that a summary, eh? That's some of my quickest work, I think. I tend to try to talk about the positives of episodes at the beginning of my criticism. There's not a lot here. When Homer can't get Maggie to sleep at the beginning, there's a part he falls asleep, and then there's a view from Homer's perspective of Maggie's finger poking him in the eye gradually until he wakes up, and it's black, and the eye keeps opening and opening, and this finger coming at you, and it's just one of those times where it's like it's more animated than I expect of the show in this day and age. It's an okay little animation gag that you don't even see them that often anymore because it's a fucking shitty computer show about people talking. When Ned wins the Grand Canyon tour, the Reverend hands him a pamphlet that says on it, "Hike, raft, that's about it." It's alright. Sort of funny. And there's a part that, honestly, I don't even know what the plot purpose of it is, except maybe to show that Rod and Todd are not perfect kids, because up until that point, there's all this, I think that fucking hell. I'm, figuring it out as I'm talking about it. Whatever. Okay, I'll return to that. But there's a part where one of the Flanders kids wakes up with night terrors, and, Maud says to Marge, "Do your kids get these?" And then Lisa goes, "I will now that I know what they are." It's sort of funny. I think that's fucking it, man. That's all the positives I got. In terms of jokes that pissed me off, bad shit. First of all, can I just say how lame it is now, just the standard opening of the show. I mean, I know it was lame. I know there's that image comparison, that side-by-side comparison of how Marge's head moved and was all animated and her hair was animated in the original, and now it's literally just this it's these little frames of, it looks like a fucking automaton. Her head goes and Maggie's little fist when she shakes it at the unibrow baby is just this little 2-frame thing. It's a piece of shit. Anyway, it's obvious the opening is shit, but the thing I hate about it too is that, you know how it used to be the two different things in the opening, where that Lisa would play a different song on her sax every time, and it was 3 things, wasn't it? It was Bart writing something on the chalkboard, Lisa playing a different song every time, which I think maybe happened a little less often. I'm not sure. And then a couch gag. And it was one of those things that when you do those with shows, they're very cool and they're very clever and they're I mean, it's cool that they're there, and it's cool they established that idea. Other shows made by the Critic, Al Jean, went on to do The Critic, and The Critic had a similar thing where they had at least one different thing in the opening, maybe 2. But at least one where he would see a different bad movie parody at the end. But it's one of those things where it's it's cool they do it, and you're it's a treat when they do it. And then the gags start to, it's not that funny, though. I don't think there's any couch gags I look back on and go, remember that one? That made me laugh so much. Or chalkboard gags or anything. But it's just a little treat. It's just a little fun thing to see in there. And when they start repeating, you're just okay, fine. It's hard to make a show, It's hard to write a whole episode and then also have a new couch gag. Sometimes it's just not feasible. I mean, obviously this is not the exact same thing, but when I was making The Simpsons quite regularly, there was a small period of time where I would fuck with the opening, and I would put some scary noises in there and shots of this realistic Homer face and with red eyes. I did that a handful of times, but it got to a point where it was I love messing with shit. And it's fun to mess with the established thing, but you go I gotta make this whole stupid episode. I don't want to do that. I don't want to change the opening when it's just, because it's a treat. People, it's nice when you do it, and it's not nice when I do it. I just make it worse and noisier and scare people. But anyway, You know what I mean? It's like, but whatever. I'm not expecting it is the main thing I'm trying to say. They're so fucking proud of themselves now with their stupid computer animated opening that they can dick around with everything on the fly because it's all made in computers, that they've added even more variables, stuff that changes. And it's like before the words The Simpsons even come up, you see somebody flying through the air in every episode. They just keep there's a billboard before, like, outside the school, that's something different on the billboard every time. It's like it's not a treat when I just go, okay, but you made this in 5 seconds and it's ugly. Like it looks dropped in. Good for you. You put more jokes in. For one thing, they're usually not funny anyway. Even in the good days, they were just sort of they were cool. It was cool to see it happen. It was cool that time there was one long couch gag where it was a circus, remember? That was like a big deal before couch gags started taking up the majority of the episodes. But, I don't need your extra shit. And like this time is fucking, it feels all the more dropped in when like shit in them doesn't even quite make sense, because the person flying through the sky this time at the opening is Ralph. And he's got, for whatever reason, he's wearing Charlie Brown's outfit, and he's being pulled into the sky by a kite. And he says, "Take that, kite-eating tree." It's a reference to Peanuts for no reason. Okay, why? But mere seconds later, Ralph is always in the new opening. He's standing next to the statue of He's standing next to the statue of Jebediah Springfield. So it's like Ralph's flying through the air, and then 2 seconds later, he's standing next to Jebediah Springfield, and it's a little jarring. And it's just like, because you just drop shit. I don't care. Who cares? Fucking around with the opening, like, whatever. It's just boring, It's just one of these things where it's like, good for you. They're so proud of themselves they can dick around with the opening, and it's sloppy, or it's just sloppy. It looks like crap. It sounds like, also another thing, like, I'm pretty sure this doesn't always happen. Well, what always happens is Bart now leaves the school because the new opening, they just went, let's pack it full of fucking references, just stuff it full of shit. When Bart jumps out of the doors of the school on his skateboard, he lands on Barney, who's covered by a pile of leaves that Willie's right, whatever. That's always happening. But I don't think this is always happening. This time when he landed on Barney went, "Morning!" And it looked like shit because Barney's mouth isn't like, it's just a crammed in line. It doesn't look like he says it. It's just laid on there. Somebody thought it'd be funny this time if he said "morning." Unless I'm wrong and this has happened before, either way it looks like crap. It doesn't look like Barney saying it. It looks like somebody just went, "Wouldn't it be funny if Barney said morning when Bart landed on him with a skateboard?" Not really. Just looks like shit. This is just one of those times, like the laziness of the way they put in animation, the way they put in audio. I just hate the overall quality of the show, the way it looks, the way it feels, It's very sloppy. Worth noting, they did the full version of the intro, which they rarely do these days, which means they had very little to put in the episode because they filled time with the absolute complete version of the intro, plus a couch gag animated by Eric Goldberg, who's a guy who worked on a lot of Disney movies, like famous ones, Fantasia and such, and he just made them all, they're just references to all his Disney movies. It's fine. It's cute. I mean, I guess it's the couch gag it's another kind of long one. It's not that long, all things considered, and the animation is better than basically anything else in the actual episode or in the show's intro. Yeah, the most nasty joke in it. Lenny is one of the people helping with the church cleanup, and he's like, "Oh, I'm getting such a good feeling from helping out," and he realizes he thinks it's because he's volunteering, but he realizes it's because they're cleaning up needles, and one has actually accidentally stuck him in the ankle or something. So then Lenny likes heroin, and he's like, "Oh, I get why they do it. Oh, it's great." So whatever. It's a joke about Lenny. It's a joke about Lenny now likes heroin. It's sort of fucked up, but I guess I'm just like, fine, okay, I guess it's fine. Just because it's a one-off joke, it's a little bit dark. I didn't laugh, but I'm not going to get mad at it. But then another shot later, they're all standing in line waiting to hear who won, like, best cleaner-upper from the Reverend. And fucking, there's a quick animation of Lenny pulling out another needle and injecting himself in the arm. He loves heroin now, and it's just like, ew, man. Because it's not funny. It's one of those things. It's like, you can go dark. In fact, The Simpsons used to go quite dark. It was a satire. But why is it funny to like show, yeah, Lenny's actually addicted to heroin. Just in case you thought that was a one-off joke, here's Lenny injecting heroin as like a background joke. It's not fucking funny. It's like, I don't. Good. He's on heroin. Like, you just imagine somebody going, we need a background joke for the shot. How about Lenny still likes heroin? Ha ha ha. Is it good? No. Ugh, just kind of nasty. Whatever. And then they do this shit. They love to, since this is a past episode about 2 years ago, when Maggie wasn't born, but, they just keep moving the Simpsons timeline up. Which, again, I should say, when people get mad about the Simpsons past being retconned, I don't actually care that much about them having a definite history that has to be stuck to, or a definite future. I think it's a sitcom, it's a cartoon. That stuff isn't that important in that, like, I'm not going to sit there going, like, wait a minute, so is it canon now that Maggie wasn't born until 2014? Like, I get that they are stuck in time and whatnot, but what I always say is there is a tonal canon, there is a character canon, and there's the way the characters behave, there's how the characters are defined, and there's the overall tone of the show, and that is the canon I care about. The reason the new show makes me so mad is that it is so much more mean-spirited, and yet at the same time so toothless compared to the satirical and sweet show that the Simpsons used to be. The characters frequently behave completely out of character. Marge is just occasionally awful to her kids. Bart is a genuine fucking sociopath. These kinds of things. That's the stuff that makes me mad. And so I am mad about the history being written to the extent that the original versions of these characters' histories were very sweet and were just like great. They were great. They were awesome little things. They were lovely little moments in these characters' lives. They were funny. They were a little bit sad. Or they were about them kind of being lower middle class and dealing with that. It was just a better story. All the times they now jump back lately, like Bart Hood did this too. They jump back and it's like the Simpsons have always lived at Evergreen Terrace. They've always lived at Evergreen Terrace. Everything's basically always been the same for them. That's how it is. And it's just less interesting. It was cool. They like grew up they started out in an apartment and dumb. So it's like 2 years earlier, Maggie isn't born. It's all very odd, to be honest. But the whole episode it feels pretty much like it's not a past episode. Because I guess what a weird thing they've done. Because why did they have to make it they didn't even have to make it a fucking past. It's so dumb. I don't see like they needed to make it a past episode. It seems almost like put it 2 years earlier. Then we don't have to worry about putting Maggie in the episode. We don't have to animate Maggie anywhere in it. I can't imagine. Because like all that happens is you're supposed to believe that Bart and Lisa are now a few years younger each. 2 years younger each. 8 and 6, apparently. But they really don't look different. They barely act different. So what the fuck? Who cares? Why is it a past episode? I don't... And it makes your brain kind of break when you try to think about the timeline of this shit. Where like... Apparently now, 2 years ago, Maude was alive. Fucking Maggie wasn't alive. They lived in Evergreen Terrace. Everything was basically the same as it is now, except for the fact that 2 years later, or God, 1 year, I don't know, a little while later, they decided to have another baby. Like, like, okay, I just said I don't care about how it fucks with canon, and I basically don't, but again, when the canon was better before, when you made a better episode of it, when you made better character stuff, I don't care so much that it's contradicting so much as if they were able to retcon the Simpsons past and make better episodes out of it that were more sweet and funny. It's not going to happen because at this point, but if they were able to do that, fucking go ahead. I don't really care. But the idea, like, because there was a point where the idea of Marge getting pregnant was a big deal for them financially, and now it doesn't matter. So now it's just this weird situation where we roll back 2 years to the Simpsons being exactly the same as they are now, except they don't have a baby. And now Maggie's just like an afterthought, I guess, in this version of the Simpsons, this world where they just, now we'll have another baby. Like, I don't, yeah, it's just stupid. Anyway, I'm not even done with the jokes. I was mad. So one of the things they do, this open self-referential shit in the middle of the episode, which I think I explained it this way before, and I think this is about right. I like it. I'm fine with the show when it breaks the fourth wall, but the characters don't know they are breaking the fourth wall. I think that's generally how the show did it in the past. Like, and I think this is the same episode I brought up last time I mentioned this, but like when the Itchy and Scratchy episode where they say, they save money by reusing backgrounds and the characters walk through the same background again and again. The characters don't know the fourth wall's being broken, but we do, and I think that works fine. They've gotten to the point now where they just go, hey, we're in a show, And I think it's a different thing, and I think it breaks the show, again, tonally. It breaks the way the show used to operate. It breaks the rules of how this show used to function. So Homer's telling Maggie this story, and he mentions 8-year-old Bart and 6-year-old Lisa. And when he mentions them, he pulls out 2 packaged action figures. One is 8-year-old Bart and one is 6-year-old Lisa. They say little things on them. The Lisa one says, as seen in this episode. I don't care for that. It says, collect them all. Okay, so they're not real people. They're on a show. It says this episode on it. And I just don't, I don't like that shit. It's not what I knew the show to be when it was good. And furthermore, again, bad animation, in this case, bad art. The action figures look flat. How an action figure, it's like when you package action figures, at least this is how it was. I haven't looked at an action figure in ages, but it's like a piece of cardboard with a little plastic box on the top, right? And the action figure sits in the little plastic box. So the little plastic box juts out from the cardboard, right? They have failed so badly on drawing this that the plastic part doesn't look like it's extending. It doesn't look 3D. It looks flat. So it genuinely, I'm not just trying to be picky here. I'm not just trying to find minor flaws to be overly picky. I mean, that's what I'm doing. And it really was a moment of confusion for me where he pulled out the action figures and it said action figures on them, but it looked like a picture, because how an action figure, often there's a picture on the cardboard of the action figure and then the actual action figure is on there, in the plastic. So there's a picture of Lisa and a picture of Bart on the top right corner of the cardboard, and then there's the actual action figure within the plastic, but the plastic looks so flat that to me it looked like 2 pictures of Bart and Lisa, a picture and a picture on each one, and it said action figures, but even so I was like, wait, what? For a moment, I just saw this flat shit, and I went, are they just pictures? I don't get it. And I paused it and looked at it, and I went, okay, I get it. I guess I realized they're supposed to be action figures. That's how bad the art is. Sometimes there are people who care more about art than me who have found so many flaws with modern Simpsons. It's just the laziness, the shortcuts, and so forth. And this is, they fucked up perspective here. There's a joke about when they've reached the Grand Canyon after a long drive, Homer goes to pee. And when he goes to pee, everybody else goes to pee in the meantime, and he just takes so long peeing. A bear comes and wants to use the bathroom, and the bear can't use the bathroom because Homer's peeing, and it's just... That's the joke. It's not funny. It's not funny. So... And it goes on a while. The joke is he's peeing a long time. Okay. You did it. There's something I tend to like to do that I do with The Simpsons, and I guess I do with these podcasts as well, where after a point, although I want to give you enough clarity to understand the episode as much as I do, generally my feeling is also I want you to feel the same confusion or frustration that I feel. And sometimes I forego clarity in favor of madness, of insanity, because these episodes are fucking insane a lot of the time. And so I just figure I'm conveying the mood more than I am the plot with definite accuracy. But I can clarify this part for you. The part where Marge says they're showing the ass, which I'm still making myself laugh with. What happens there is they're on a glass walkway, that see-through walkway above the canyon before they descend it. And Homer looks down, and Bart has suction cupped himself to the underside of the walkway and is mooning him from below, which is too stupid to me. It's too insane. I have complained before that Bart has become such a hellion in these new ones that he's like a force of nature with his pranks. He just does things that aren't even like a little kid could do them. They're like, where did he get the suction cups from? Like, it's too crazy that he would be in that. He's literally above the Grand Canyon, suction cup to this thing. You know, like he could fall to his death. I mean, you have to understand. I'm trying to think about them as a real family, as real people, because that's the show I remember. That's the show I liked. Like, this is a version of the show where, like, Marge should go, your fucking suction cup to the bottom of the walkway, you could die, get at. Marge should be freaking the fuck out, but no, of course she's not, because it's just a joke. You know, it's just an insane situation, and then Homer reacts by getting mad and mooning him back through the top of the glass, and who knows how Bart gets out from under there, who knows how he got under there. Like, I know it's a cartoonish show, but there are just times where it's like, sorry, they're not people anymore. Bart is just like a magical gag master who can be anywhere and everywhere with his ass hanging out. Like, ugh, I don't like it. And then there's a joke with Bart to when Homer and Ned go off to find food for everyone. Bart's like, please be careful, Uncle Ned. And Homer's wondering why Bart doesn't care about him. And he's like, hey, how about over here? And Bart then goes over to the horse next to Homer and goes, oh, please be careful, horse. It's a mule, I'm sorry. Please be careful. So the joke is he doesn't care about Homer. He cares about Ned and he cares about the mule. But it doesn't add up. Because Bart doesn't care about Ned, you know? Bart doesn't call him Uncle Ned. He doesn't give a shit about Ned. This is the first time he's shown affection for him. You can see it as a joke of Bart being a jerk and trying to make Homer mad, but it doesn't come off that way. It comes off like suddenly Bart cares about Ned. It's not funny. Bottom line on all these is it's not funny. Oh, regarding the past stuff, too, this isn't really about it being a bad joke. It's not a funny joke, but regarding the stuff they've retconned, there's when they get the food back to everyone else, Lisa goes, bacon, and starts shoveling shitloads of bacon into her mouth. And then Homer, like, in the present, explains how Lisa, this was before she was a vegetarian. So it was 2 years ago, before she was a vegetarian. Fine. Like, okay. It's another thing where it's like, why? So we can watch Lisa go, bacon? What's the joke? Oh, the joke is she says something like, oh, I had the arteries of a 20-year-old back then or something. I guess that's the joke. Fine. Great. Okay. The overall problem with this episode, Fland Canyon, aside from the fact that, yeah, the retconning sucks because you've made a shittier history of The Simpsons. It's lame. Like, and for what? And I don't get why. You know, why? I don't get why this isn't set in the present. I don't know why Maude even has to be in it. Maybe for some, I don't know. It seems for some reason Maude sounded authentic to me, and I just looked it up. It was the original voice. It was Maggie Roswell. She was the original voice of Maude, even though Maude has been voiced by someone else the few times they've brought her back. I don't know. They decided, hey, want to come back for an episode? Okay, we'll do a flashback so you can do Maude again, everybody's favorite fucking character. Okay, great. I mean, I really wouldn't have cared if Maude wasn't the real Maude, but I guess it was noticeable. I went, oh, it sounds like the real Maude. Yay. Is that why it was a flashback? So we could have Maude? Okay, cool. Who cares? Also, note, if you're thinking about the timeline again, too. So what does that mean? That means within the 2 years of Maude's death, Ned remarried Miss Krabappel, who then also died in over 2 years. Is that right? Is that what we're saying? You know, like, there's an extent to which it's just better if they leave well enough alone, because it's just, it makes things so weird. I wouldn't care, and I wouldn't be thinking about it if there was a good reason for it. If you'd made a good episode out of it and you had a good reason. I don't see a reason. This is in the past, and 2 years in the past. Why? Fine. Okay, but anyway, despite the retconning, here's the problem with this episode. There's no plot! There is no plot. A series of things happen in sequential order. There's not a fucking plot. I mean, Summarizing it, it became a question of what do I include, what don't I include, because none of it's a plot. It felt a little bit like I'd never seen anything like this before from this show. I don't think that's really true, though. I think actually the first episode I did Joe's Too Critical of The Simpsons for was a bit like this. There was no real plot. They kept hinting at a conflict between Lisa and a rich girl that they were getting free stuff from. But the plot wasn't actually there. The conflict was not there. They just kept telling you that it was there. Hey, Lisa and this girl are having problems. This somehow feels even less of a plot, though. Like, I really did consider, like, should I do a Simpsons for this? Because fucking hell, I mean, I don't know. But, like, I also don't know how to do it. Like, it was hard enough just thinking of what parts do I include because, I don't know, nothing happens. They are so focused on gags, which are not funny, obviously, because if they were funny, I would have listed them for you. They're so focused on weird little asides and jokes, and it's just, it feels like somebody went like, let's get the show back to its gaggy roots, where we just cut away to jokes and little interludes and blah blah blah, and do like nothing but that. What? That's Family Guy, isn't it? They've made a Family Guy episode. They've done it. They finally did it. It doesn't get as nasty or dark as Family Guy mostly, except for that heroin joke maybe. But that's about it. I mean, they didn't. There's no plot. I mean, they hinted a plot again, as they've been doing, but they don't know how to actually put the moments in to make their conflicts work. But even more so than usual. I mean, this is the main thing I've been complaining about in episodes lately, the way the plots don't actually exist, and they do these bullet points of like where the plot moments should be, but they don't actually work because they don't invest the writing and the time into making these moments work. This one's even more than usual. It's just nothing happens. The implication, like, I don't know, the conflict is Ned and Homer are not getting along well enough, so they go on a trip. I mean, Ned and Homer never got along, really, and you need to have a bigger moment. You need to have something happen specifically where we go, oh, Homer and Flanders really are fighting bad. They should go on a trip. There's nothing like that. It's just they're both doing the cleanup. Homer's kind of being a fucking dick, and Flanders is like, damn, Homer's being a fucking dick. And that's it. And then the Reverend pawns the trip off on Homer, and because he doesn't want to travel with Ned. And then because I guess you're supposed to be sitting there seeing everything that's happening as being about them patching up this conflict between them of not liking each other. But since it doesn't seem like anything out of the ordinary has happened, it's just the Flanderses are too, holier than thou. The Simpsons are rude and mean and, dirty or whatever. That's it. It's like, but that's their dynamic. That's how they always are. What's happening? What is supposed to happen? So it just seems like you're watching a series of fucking things happening until about 13 minutes in, when their guide just dies. He just falls. The rocks beneath his mule break and he falls. And I guess he's not dead, as I said. But whatever. He just falls, and then now we need to get food. And then you're like, okay, is this the conflict? But not really. Because it gets summed up in a second. And it's supposed to be the way it all resolves, because it's supposed to be, oh, Homer and Ned work together and like get along, but it's just so shoehorned in. And first of all, and the bigger issue is, I didn't feel like they were having a terribly bad time before that. It didn't feel like Homer and Ned need this moment to like resolve their problems, because it never felt like they had a big problem. They just felt like Homer and Flanders always feel. So they didn't really do a conflict. They think they did, but they didn't. It's supposed to be Homer and Ned need to get along. That's why the tag happens at the end, or at the very end. They go to the postcard museum. It's a nice gesture from Homer. I mean, it feels a bit like an older episode because, of course, this is well-tread territory as well. Homer and Flanders try to get along. It's been done so much better in the past, but this is something that I guess could have happened. It's you need a specific moment where they get in a fight that's clear, and then they have a specific resolution instead of just this, we're kind of annoyed with each other. And like, because none of the stuff kind of stays, it's sort of like how the last episode had Maggie and Bart doing pranks, but each prank was a very different kind of prank, so there was no like through line, nothing was consistent. Same thing here. Sometimes it's Bart's being a jerk, sometimes it's Homer's acting like an asshole. I guess that's it. Lisa's always a good kid. So what's that about? I mean, that doesn't add anything. Okay. Like, Homer's showing his ass and Bart's showing his ass, which, by the way, Homer gets dragged off by like the park authorities and then doesn't get kicked out. You'd get kicked out. Bart would get kicked out if he suction cupped himself to the bottom of the walkway with his ass out. You don't even need the ass out to get kicked out at that point. Come on. Whatever, and then they're just on donkeys. I mean, there's also like a running plot about Homer riding a mule. It's an old mule. It's the only one that can carry his weight, but it like means nothing. It's just like an extended joke plot, but like they see it through to the end. He says bye to the mule at the end, and like, okay, I guess this is a plot too. Homer's bonding with his mule, but he's not really.
Not really. There's just a few scenes with it. They put all these things in that I guess they're acting like our plot shit, but they just feel like asides. They just feel like jokes. It feels like bad joke after bad joke after bad joke, just these sequences of bad jokes in a row. That's it. And then it's over. It's a series of unfortunate jokes. Blech. They're clearly also trying to make a plot about Maud being disapproving of Bart. Okay, that doesn't resolve either. That just doesn't resolve. It just ends. Bye. Like, what? Doesn't resolve. I guess Maud dies, so we showed her. I mean, not on screen. That happened a while ago. But I don't believe that resolves. I think they're. Oh yeah, I was saying this before. I think I was figuring this out as I was talking about this. I think their attempt at resolution for that plot is showing that even though Rod and Todd are really well behaved kids, Rod is so plagued by needing to be a good kid that he gets night terrors about it, because he wakes up from his night terror because he forgot to tell God to bless the mailman. So I guess that's your resolution. Your resolution is maybe Bart's a bad kid, but Rod gets night terrors, so fuck you, Maud Flanders. Good. It's a good plot. What a great plot. Fuck it. I mean, Jesus. That's it, man. I mean, there's no plot. There's no plot. I don't know what else to tell you. Nothing happens. Stuff acts like it's happening, but it's a lie. Nothing is happening. Nothing happens. And I would like to add, by the way, isn't the whole point of like the Springfield Gorge that we don't need a Grand Canyon in the Simpsons world? Am I wrong about this? I don't think the Grand Canyon's ever been like, because that's why we have the Springfield. You don't need a fucking Grand Canyon when the Springfield Gorge exists. Yeah? Isn't it the Simpsons world equivalent? I mean, it's one of those weird things where like the show forgets it had a parody version of a real thing and just goes, now they're at the real thing. That was like a thing I remember happened in like Community. Community had Kick Puncher, which was a low budget movie, but then it got remade, and it was clearly supposed to be a parallel to RoboCop. But the thing is, they'd mentioned RoboCop on the show, so RoboCop existed. Whatever. I mean, why is the Grand Canyon in it when we have Springfield Gorge? It's like it becomes that weird. That situation where like there's, I don't know what's reality, what's not. When you have two versions of the world existing at the same time. Because that was the thing, like Springfield, you can make it whatever you want, kind of. You can add locations to Springfield to serve the purpose of your plot, but now they go off to the Grand Canyon. Okie dokie. Somebody must have really wanted to tell a story about going down the Grand Canyon, and I guess you can't do that at the Springfield Gorge? I don't fucking know. Is it? I don't know. Maybe it's not the same thing. Maybe the gorge is just a hole, and the Grand Canyon has the little pathways. It seems odd to me. Anyway, yeah. Fuck this episode. It did make me very mad. It was, it was this weird. I've been put in this state by the show before, but it was acute this time. It was I'm like lulled into just this state of angry boredom. I'm both like I can't muster the energy while watching it to feel too much. I don't feel that much. I'm just bored and confused and lost. But behind it all, I am angry, yes, that I am that bored and confused and lost. So, yeah, just a sort of furious ennui is what this episode gave unto me. So fuck this. It might be one of the worst episodes of the season. I mean, that doesn't really matter, but it might be one of the worst. The other ones have been episodes that have attempted to be grounded and have failed. This is technically trying the same thing, but it's just missed the mark so incredibly. It is just bad joke sequences lined up, and then it ends, and it's in the past for no reason. So I'm going to give this wonderful piece of shit a rating of furious ennui out of I want to die. Thanks.
Cool news!
News. I don't know. There's nothing. I don't really have anything to say. I recorded this the night this episode aired. It is right now, April 24th. I thought I will get this out quickly this time. As I mentioned, I want to review the new Weezer album, and I had started that but not finished it. Yeah, they're doing that again. They did a new episode, then they did a week off, and now another new episode, and now it's another week off. So, My goal is to maybe even get this up this very night. But at any rate, my goal is to get this up soon. So then, with these 2 weeks, I now have because there's no Simpsons. I'm gonna do my Weezer review, which will be on my YouTube channel. If you like Weezer at all, don't watch it. If you like modern Weezer, because it's not gonna be nice. As I said, Weezer is the Simpsons of pop music. I guess that's it. After these 2 weeks, after this week off, we are back for it's the last 3 episodes of the season for 3 weeks consecutively. And once that's all done, I guess I promised I'll do that South Park Simpsons comparison, so I'll try to still do that. And then I'm going to take stock of my life. Oh, and I did want to say something I've just been meaning to kind of mention as a brief aside. I think many people who are, interested enough to listen to this are also watching Bob's Burgers. But if you're not, Bob's Burgers is really killing it, man, this season, I gotta say. Bob's Burgers is a show that I don't usually feel that strongly about. It's a show that I watched because I thought it was just okay. I kind of like everybody involved. I like the guys involved with home movies, Lauren Burchard and all those. I started watching it because my friend liked it, and I was kind of just okay with it. But then there was the episode about the Lynn's sister painting butt animal assholes and hanging paintings around. And that episode had a gag in it that made me laugh for so hard and for so long, and I would think about it and laugh that I just went, oh, I have to watch this whole show now. So, but I will say this show, I mean, Bob's Burgers had, I think maybe even only like a season or two ago, it went through a period where I just was like, I was kind of like, does this show need to keep going? I just don't, the returns were not good enough. They were not great enough for me to give a shit. And I was just watching it and kind of letting it wash over me. I didn't really care about it. I actually went to a panel, I think before last season, there was a panel in New York where the cast came and talked and the creators and stuff, and it was like pleasant, but it was one of these funny things where it was like, yeah, the people in the audience were fans, but like Bob's is such a gentle show. The stakes are so low. It really is like that is the show that's the closest to The Simpsons when it was, what's on now. It's the closest that you can get, I think. It's not nearly as good, but as The Simpsons was great, but yeah, it's very gentle, and it has the family dynamic down really well. I think the thing that's great about Bob is that it's just they feel like real people. They feel like real family. They have these little emotional moments. Yeah, and I mean that's what The Simpsons has completely lost sight of. But when I went to this panel, it was funny because it was like, on the one hand, these were fans and these were people like eager to see sneak previews of Bob's Burgers and stuff. But at the same time, it was like, they were like announcing stuff like, you know what, in the next season, we're going to meet Bob's dad. And people were like, oh, yay. But like, you could kind of tell, like, this isn't a show where it's like there was a Hannibal panel too, There, everybody wants to know what's going to happen. And this, it's like, okay, we're going to meet Bob's dad. Well, okay, cool. That's cool. That's nice to know. But, it's a lovely little show, and I do have to say, though I had these, like, down moments with it, where I was just like, this season I just feel it's just, there's nothing, like, too incredible to talk about with it, but it is just, like, they absolutely, everything I'm complaining about with The Simpsons, they're just getting it right. They just understand that if you want to set something up to pay off later, they just know how to do it. They know how to fucking put plots together. That's all it comes down to. They're just doing it so solidly that the episodes are really satisfying. There's a lot of good little jokes that make me laugh. Even there's like episodes where I've talked about how when The Simpsons, they don't know when to devote less time to a gag plot, because if you put more emphasis, if you give too much time to a gag plot, you start thinking about it and you start going, this doesn't make sense. Bob's Burgers knows not to do that. If they have a silly plot, they give it a lot less screen time. It's just, yeah, basically if you want to see the closest to The Simpsons now, it's Bob's Burgers. Doesn't look great. It is still, of course, very much of the computer era. And also, I think it's probably like the best role for John Benjamin ever. He fits that role so well. I've never thought I never really understood him as a secret agent on Archer. And some people know this about me, but if you don't, it's time to make you hate me more. I hate Archer. And I could talk about why at length, maybe. But I don't know. I watched like 3.5 seasons too, so I don't hate Archer lightly. Please note. I did not enjoy it from the beginning, and I've seen shitloads of it. I've probably seen, about a third of it now because it's never ending. But anyway. And also, I liked stuff by those guys before. Those guys did Frisky Dingo, which I like. And I liked C-Lab okay. C-Lab I cared less when I revisited it, but I like Frisky Dingo. Yeah, I don't like Archer. Anyway, I like Bob's Burgers. That's all I want to say. I guess I'll talk to you again in 2 weeks or so. Goodbye. You're the best around. I love you. Bye, blah, blah, bye, 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 bye.
Oh no! Homer and Bart are making fools of themselves, showing their ass to the world. Moon and everyone showing their ass. Showing their ass. Okay.